Hello, welcome back to day 2 of our prep class. Make sure everything is functioning well. Okay, here we go. Is my mic clear? Can you hear me all right on there? Okay, so we're waiting for everybody to join. We're going to start off the class with going through some of the questions that we had for yesterday's assignment on practice test number 6. So if you'd like to go ahead and pull that up, log into your College Board account and open up practice test number 6. So just a recap of what we did yesterday, we ended up going over quite a bit. The first few sessions, first few SAT reading and writing portion, and that's including the information and ideas section along with craft and structure. And in the information and ideas, it was main idea, inference, and evidence. And then in craft and structure, it was the vocabulary, purpose, and function of sentences within context. So we went over those two. Today, we're going to go over the conventions of standard English and expression of ideas. So for the conventions of standard English, we're going to be focused a lot on punctuation. So that includes commas, semicolons, colons, and dashes. We're going to do some practice there. Then we're going to work on transitions and flow for expression of ideas. So that's going to be talking about what transitions fit best within the context. Okay, we're going to do also some practice, and then for tomorrow and Thursday, we are going to do a deep dive into the math section of the SAT, and then Friday, we are going to do a total comprehensive review of both sections, do some practice, and then you guys will get an opportunity to receive a score back, an estimated score back based on how you perform there. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let's go over these in here. Okay, get all of this pulled up. Okay, so the types of questions that we focused on had to deal with, let me go over here, main idea passages. Okay, so like this one here, main purpose of the text. I'm actually going to skip over to module 2. Okay, now Elam, so did you work on the questions on the attached SAT for the email that I sent over, or did you do the digital practice on there? Okay. Did you do the one that is attached in the notes, or did you do the digital one on your College Board account? Because I want to go over the first part, any questions that you have that you answered. Okay, perfect. Um, okay, so numbers 15, 16, and 8. Okay, let's go take a look here. Okay, so the people in Europe have traditionally been seen. So just to make sure, is this the one that you answered or that you had questions on? Hello, how's it going? Start everything in here. Okay. Go ahead and take all your stuff out and everything. I'm going to work with my student that's online for just a second. He's working through some of the questions that we did in class yesterday. Okay. Yes. And then while you're getting all set up, I'm going to go over any questions that you had on the practice.
I can't bring my laptop today.
That's fine.
I know.
Do you have a packet? Okay, that's all we need. Yeah. Um, Okay, so the people of medieval Europe have traditionally been seen as uninterested in cleanliness and hygiene, but modern research has shown that this is largely a myth. Okay, according to historian Eleanor Janega, most medieval towns in Europe had at least one public bathhouse, which often offered both full immersion baths and more affordably steam baths. Okay, while such amenities were available mainly to town dwellers, the regular bathing in rivers and streams or daily sponge baths at home were common practices throughout medieval Europe. Okay, which choice best underlines or best describes the function of the underlined portion? So I mentioned yesterday that in order to figure out the best function is to remove this sentence from the page, and you'll quickly see what the purpose of it is. So they mentioned the fact that amenities were available mainly to town dwellers. Okay. Does it assert that in medieval Europe, steam baths were more popular in rural areas than in urban ones? Not exactly. Hello. It doesn't even say that. Okay, so option A is out. It describes a limitation of earlier historians' studies of medieval European bathing habits. It concedes that not all people in medieval Europe had access to public bathhouses, or does it explain why Janegas decided to study the popularity of public bathhouses in medieval Europe? So, what option did you pick for this one? Okay. We're just getting started. I'm working with the student who is online, and he was doing the one that we did yesterday in there. So I was just answering his questions before we get started in here too. Now, while I'm waiting for his response, what did you guys have any questions on module 2, 1 through 16 in the packet? Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so you used option D. So let's look at this again. So while such amenities were available mainly to town dwellers, it doesn't explain why Janega decided to study the popularity of public bathhouses. What it's saying is that not all people in medieval Europe had access to public bathhouses. Okay. Let me know if you have questions as well. I'm gonna pull this up, see. Okay, good deal. All right, so as you guys are looking through the questions, how many on here? Okay, he had 8, 15, and 16. We went over 8 together in person yesterday, but what about 15 or 16? Any questions on those?
You have the answers?
I do. Yep.
15.
Okay, let me take a look here. Just had them pulled up. I don't know what happened to them. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Number 6, test number 6, number 15, you're asking about, right? Okay, on module 2. This one is going to be D. 15 is D.
What about 16?
16 is B as in boy. Did you said that you okay.
Some of these questions are different.
Okay. Now, on your college board, on your score report, did you get all of them correct, or which ones did you miss?
I got all of them correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so 15, go back and double check that one. Okay, 15 is D, and then 16 is B. So here, 16 is B. Now, we talked a little bit about the NFM attitude. We did this one yesterday together, and discussed why it was what it was, right? Elam had a question about that one. Let's see. Okay, and now the mean one, we did not do 15 together. So 15 we can at least discuss. Okay, which choice most effectively uses data from the table to complete this statement? So to test whether a medication is effective, scientists compare outcomes for patients and patients taking a placebo, a medically inactive substance, and patients normally aren't told that they're receiving a placebo, hence the placebo effect. If they told them, it would eliminate that effect. let's see, patients aren't normally told that they're receiving a placebo, but a research team conducted a study to see if there might be a medical benefit to telling them. The team used various measures to evaluate participants with higher ratings indicating greater well-being in each measure. Compared to the mean ratings after 21 days for participants in the control group, the mean ratings for the participants who were aware of taking a placebo, it's going to be the left option or the left column there in comparison to the right one. Those are all greater. Okay, they're higher for all three measures, indicating greater overall well-being. So just to be clear, the mean rating for the control group is here. Mean rating for the placebo is here. 3.9 is less than 5. 46 is half of 92. And then we have 5.4 and 11.4. So it's going to be option either. Elam, let me know if that makes sense to you. Okay, and then 16 we went over yesterday. Any other questions on this practice? Okay. Okay, number 11 is going to be C. Okay, let's take a look here. Oh yeah, this is, okay, an inference one again. Okay. Well, hopefully that's gonna come back on. There we go. It can most reasonably be inferred from the text that the finding about the microorganism community composition was important for which reason. So to understand how temperature affects microorganism mediated cycling of soil nutrients in alpine ecosystems, Eva collected plant soil cores in the Tatra Mountains at elevations around 2,100 meters and transplanted them to elevations of 1,700 to 1,800 meters, where the mean air temperature was warmer by 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, so she moved them down. Microorganism mediated nutrient cycling was accelerated in the transplanted cores. Crucially, microorganism community composition was unchanged, allowing Eva to attribute the acceleration to temperature-induced increases in microorganism activity. Okay, so we're inferring that microorganism community composition was important for what reason? It provided preliminary evidence that microorganism-mediated nutrient cycling was accelerated in the transplanted cores. Well, it does say that though. But inference means that it's not going to be verbatim from the text. But it does say that microorganism mediated nutrient cycling was accelerated in the transplanted cores.
Yeah, but that's not.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's what I was saying. It suggests that the temperature-induced changes in microorganism activity may be occurring at increasingly high elevations. It doesn't necessarily say that though. Did you pick D?
I put
B? Why did you pick B? Just curious.
Because I mean it was talking about the temperature.
Right.
So I just figured
That it may be.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Especially with that Russian last name or whatever that is, but I do get that. So now 2,100 meters, that is high. But also when it has something in there like increasingly high elevations, that is a subjective statement there. Because for us, like we're at 0 elevation here in Florida, right? But if you go to Colorado and you're in the mountains, like that's high for us. But if people in Colorado go to Mount Everest is like way higher. So what I mean by that is this is subjective. By saying that it's increasingly high elevations, it doesn't say like increasingly higher elevations. It just says increasingly high elevations. But that word high elevations, that's subjective. So it doesn't say that these are high. It just says what they are. They're 2,100 meters, which is about 6,000 feet. I mean, like I said, to us, that's high. But to people who perhaps live in Colorado, there's like a 15,000 feet, or what do you call those things? Peak in Colorado, you know? So to them, this is not high. So the reason I'm saying that, when you're going through these questions like that, that's kind of it's a vague generalization. Like it's subjective. So I don't know that I would lean towards that one initially. Okay. I'm just going to write that note here that this is subjective. Okay. It can be in for the composition. Okay. Why would the composition be important? Let's see. It ruled out a potential alternative explanation for the acceleration in microorganism mediated nutrient cycling. Okay, so let's, right here, it says crucially, microorganism community composition was unchanged. So apparently before, okay, the microorganism community composition was unchanged. I don't know what that means. I'm not like a biologist. But the environment is what I'm reading from that. The environment was unchanged. What changed was the core. So this one right here, it ruled out a potential alternative explanation for the acceleration. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know if I have it like in my head. I'm having trouble articulating it. So the question asks, what did we find out about the microorganism community composition? The community composition was unchanged. So that didn't change. Like basically that possibility is eliminated. So we start focusing on something else. I think that's what this is saying here. It ruled out a potential alternative explanation because the community part was changed. And then option D, it clarified that microorganism activity levels in the plant soil cores vary depending on which, okay, it doesn't say that. So we can eliminate for sure options A and D on there. I will say that this one was tricky.
Yes, C does make sense. That would be.
Yeah. All right. Now, any other questions on this? That was a good one. And these are those specific subject matters that is tough, right?
Seven.
Okay.
What was that? I got D.
Number 7. Module 2 is D as in dog.
What about four?
Okay. 4, it's B as in boy.
Oh,
So let's go through that one. Okay. Okay, in 1981 or 1891, sorry, design artist William Morris co-founded the Kelmscott Press, which printed editions of books using pre-industrial methods. Historians argue that Morris's repudiation of industrialization is blank. Wait a minute, this cannot be. That doesn't sound right. For
no, I think it because the part where it says these meticulously handcrafted elements exemplify, all of them other are, but only one manifest is the only one that kind of uplifts.
But this is strange. Historians argue that the repudiation is manifest in. it sounds wrong to me. I would say manifested or something. It would need to have like an ed on the end of it. Let me look at maybe I'm not reading that correctly. Let me read that one more time. Historians argue that Morris's repudiation. Oh, industrial. I think like pushback is what it means. Let's look it up.
It does sound weird, but if it was manifested, it'd say manifested in the use of Scott's editions.
Yeah, it's a rejection of a proposal or idea. That's what I thought. Yeah, like pushback is what I remember that to be. I hear what you said. Yeah. It's manifesting. I guess I just haven't heard it used in that context. An intricate ornamentation reminiscent of medieval manuscripts. It's manifest. Okay.
It's trying to trick you because people don't use it.
Right.
You have to look at the context clues.
So yeah, I don't think it's insensible to. So what I would try to do here is process of elimination. So you chose D first, right? Okay. So the industrialization is complicated by.
I figured out it is ornamented.
That's not a bad deduction. Like you're deducing your answers. That's not a bad way to do that. But we are talking about, let's see, the repudiation of industrialization is blank. So this scrutinized by means criticized, right? So it's not going to be criticized. Manifested would be made. I'm like become, I guess becoming would be another. I'm actually going to look up and see if there's a different use of this that I'm not familiar with. I've only ever heard it. It's clear or obvious to the eye or mind. I would not have said that. How do you guys like define manifest?
I see it as inspired.
Okay, so you said appear and inspired. And I was saying like create, almost like you manifest.
Yeah.
People say that all the time, like, oh, I manifested this. And that's them speaking something into existence. The only way that I used. That's wrong. Okay, the actual definition, I just looked it up. It says manifest is clear or obvious to the eye or mind. But I still don't, okay, it's clear the Kelmscott editions use hymn materials. They argue that it's manifest and that it's clear by or.
The pushback of industrialization is clear by handmade.
Right. Yes. That's what I was trying to think. So it's like made clear by. I was like, what other word would go there? Because I don't. This one is strange. This is a good one to go over too, but the answer is B, manifest in. Yeah, I would think that it would be manifested in, but it's not. It is just manifest. Okay, that's it. Yeah, these are all good ones, the ones that you guys have brought up so far. And like I said, module 2 tends to give you a run for your money. And it's like a hard left. You could just get there and you're like, wait a second, what just happened? So these are good. Any other ones that you want to go over?
Five is B.
Okay, let's take a look here. 5 is B, yes. Yeah, we can. So if you want to go to the beginning, I'll just call them out, make sure that you guys got them, the answers. Let's go to number 1 in module 2. Okay, so this is going to be C. Number 2 is D. 3 is C. We talked about 4 already. 5 is also B. 6 is C. 7 is D. Oh, we did that one. 8 is C. Okay. This is actually funny. 8 through 13, they're all C. Okay. So just let me know which ones you are, that you have questions on from there, and we'll go through those. So 8 through 13, they're all C. And then 14 is D. 15 is also D. We talked about that. And 16 is B as in boy. We talked about that one too. Okay, so which ones did you guys get wrong? Or which ones do you want to go over?
I got
9 and 12, you said? Okay. 9 and 12. Okay. So let's see here. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined portion in the text as a whole? Okay. Now, remember what can be helpful is to cross off the whole answer choices. Okay. So I'm actually going to do that because I think that we are smart enough to figure out the answer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is like this. And I'm going to write down some things that we think could be part of the answer. So I'm going to read the part that's underlined first, and then I'm going to read the whole text without it. Okay, they tend to focus on the most militant, outspoken figures in the movement. Okay, now we're going to read the whole thing without it. Scholarly accounts of the Chicano movement, a movement that advocated for the social, political, and cultural empowerment of Mexican Americans, reached its zenith in the 1960s and 70s, making it seem uniformly radical. However, geographer Juan Herrera has shown, however, that if we shift our focus toward the way the movement manifested in comparatively low-profile neighborhood institutions and projects, we see participants espousing an array of political orientations and approaches to community activism. Okay. Why would they input that they focus on the most militant, outspoken figures in the movement?
Show like prominent aspect of it that's overshadowing the other larger portion.
Okay. To show aspect being overshadowed.
Well, it would be the aspect overshadowing.
To show the aspect being overshadowed. Say it again.
To show the aspect like that's overshadowing the other people in the low profile area.
Okay. That's overshadowing. I just misunderstood. Overshadowing the people in the low profile areas. Okay. I would agree with that. Okay. Elam said they have the most influence on policy change. And I'm just going to like jot this down.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's look at this. Okay. We wrote down to show the aspect that's overshadowing the people in the low profile areas, right? Or they have the most influence on policy change. Now, we don't want to overthink this too much. Okay. So if it's not already a part in the text, we don't want to just input our own thoughts into there. That will not prove to be beneficial. Okay. So just keep that in mind as you're going through it. As we're looking through the answer choices, okay, it presents a trend in scholarship on the Chicano movement that the text claims has been reevaluated by researchers in light of, I don't see any of that, okay, on the movement's participants. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out, it's so much easier when you take a second to write down what you think, because it's going to help you eliminate other options. Okay, so we talked about it, but that's something that you guys will have to practice, okay, of trusting yourself and write down some things, because that's going to help you narrow down and be like, wait, I didn't write that down, so I can't. It identifies an aspect of the Chicano movement that the text implies was overemphasized by scholars due to their own political orientations. What do you say?
No.
You don't think so?
Because of those last few words, they're unbelievable.
Right. It actually doesn't say that. Mm-hmm. It describes a common approach to studying the Chicano movement that, according to the text, obscures the ideological diversity of the movement's participants. You literally said that. You see? Like you said that it overshadows the people in low profile areas. That's exactly what this says. It obscures, that's overshadows, the ideological diversity, which is talking about the low profile thing of the movement's participants. So you said it without even realizing, that that's part of the answer choice. That happens, I'm telling you, and we're going to see that today. We're going to do that in part of our session today, where you guys are going to see how right you are without being entertained by the answer choices. Okay, so that one is C. Now for 12, okay, based on the text, Wong, Seeger, and colleagues would most likely agree with which statement about the atmospheric ammonia? Okay, Juan Seeger and colleagues would most likely agree. So let's see what he has to say. I can already tell that their names are introduced here. Okay, about a third of the way down. So just kind of pointing that out. So some astronomers searching for extraterrestrial life have proposed that atmospheric ammonia can serve as a biosignature gas, an indication that a plant harbors life. Wong, Seeger, and colleagues evaluated this possibility, finding that on rocky planets, atmospheric ammonia likely couldn't reach detectably high levels in the absence of biological activity. They couldn't reach detectably high levels in the absence of biological activity. Okay. But the team also found that on so-called mini Neptunes, gas planets smaller than Neptune but with atmospheres similar to Neptune's, atmospheric pressure and temperature can be high enough to produce atmosphere. Okay, so what first, before we look at all the answer choices, okay, what do they believe? Or what are they aiming to find? What's their goal here? Okay, so I'm just going to write down, so ammonia, biosig, gas, question mark. Okay, anything else? Because we're looking for, they would most likely agree. The team also found that the atmospheric pressure and temperature can be high enough to produce atmospheric ammonia.
What else?
Right. Yeah. What else? What would they agree with based on the fact that they did find out two things? They found that atmospheric ammonia likely couldn't reach detectably high levels without there being life already on the planet. That's this biological activity part here. So that is kind of saying like they might not find it at all because there is not already something living on those planets. But they are saying they did find that the atmospheric pressure and temperature can be high enough to produce atmospheric ammonia. Okay, so just with that in mind, okay, its presence is more likely to indicate that a planet is a mini Neptune than that a planet is a rocky planet. Okay, I can't even read that. We said planet 3 times. That's just, it's got to be out. Okay, the redundancy, we talked about that yesterday, right? If it repeats a word, I would even say if it just repeats a word, that's a flag in my brain to probably not pick that one. Okay. Its absence from a planet, this one too, its absence from a planet that's not a mini Neptune indicates that the planet probably doesn't have life. Okay, so planet already twice. It should be treated as a biosignature gas if detected in the atmosphere of a rocky planet, but not if detected in the atmosphere of a mini Neptune. or it doesn't reliably reach high enough concentration. Well, it doesn't talk about that. So I would say just strictly based on process of elimination, it would have to be option C. Okay, the first two options, in my opinion, I would eliminate those for redundancy, especially the first one, planet, planet, planet. Okay, so what I'm going to write here is redundant. Okay, and I'm going to highlight these so that when you guys are, if you go back through and study this, you'll remember that. Okay, and I'm going to put here not supported by text. Does that make sense? There? Okay. Anything else? Grammar. Okay, what about you? Feel good? Okay. So we're going to go through punctuation today. This would be a good opportunity if you want to either jot it down. You can write it down on the back of the papers that I gave you guys. I have more lined paper if you prefer that. I'm also going to write it down here, and I will attach these notes to our like group lesson and all that stuff. Oh yes, and you have those as well. Okay. On here, I actually have these pulled up today. I have my ducks more in a row. Okay, we've got some boundaries to go over. So we are going to nail down grammar stuff. Okay. A period, when you're asking about boundaries, okay, what you're asking yourself is, can these clauses stand alone? You know, I'm actually going to import this. Let me put this into our thing here. That way I can more easily write on it. Okay. Boundaries, can these clauses alone? So we're talking about clauses. We're saying, can you chop it and have them stand alone? The only two things that you need for a complete sentence in English is a subject and a verb. So does it have both a subject and a verb? If they do, there's ways that you can separate them. Okay, here is a period. That's the most familiar one. Okay, we chop a sentence using two periods, or using a period. You can also use a semicolon, but they have to be closely related. Most of you guys do pretty well with that. Comma, fanboys. Okay, fanboys is the acronym for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, all of these here, for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So a comma and a fanboy is another accurate way to separate two independent clauses. These three are the only ways to separate independent clauses. Okay? In other words, complete sentences. The bottom two, colon and dash. A colon, a lot of students don't know this. The thing that I hear the most for what a colon is used for is a list. Not always. It is not always used for a list. Take a look at this example that's over here. The team needed one thing. Is this an independent clause? Just that part alone. The team needed one thing. Yeah. It's not very descriptive, right? You're not saying what that one thing is, but it could stand alone. The team is the subject. Is an independent clause. Now, a strong defense, is that an independent clause? No, you can't just say a strong defense. That's not going to work. A strong defense does what? So a colon, it can introduce a list, but it can also be an explanation or an example. And in this case, it is an explanation for the one thing, which is why you probably thought that it wasn't independent to begin with, because you're not saying what that one thing is. You can use colon there, okay, to separate the independent clause to the dependent clause. Now, dashes are another. you can actually use them interchangeably. I don't know if you guys know that. You can use a hyphen or a pair of hyphens interchangeably with a comma or a it's the same thing. You can add emphasis or parenthetical information. Okay, what is important here about parenthetical information? Is that necessary to the grammatical function of the sentence if it's parenthetical? No. Okay, parentheses or parenthetical information is all extra info. Well, guess what? That makes our life a little bit easier because grammatically we can do this and it should still read properly. The team pulled off the win. Totally fine. Reads totally fine. That's going to help us when we're going through this because it's going to help trim the fat. Do you guys like steaks? Oh yeah, right. So good. There's like hardly anything that's like extra like the fat. Okay? No one likes chewing on that fat. This in here is considered the fat of the sentence. Okay? That can completely would be more than happy to remove the fat from the steak and the meat, right? That's what you have to learn the SAT, how to remove the parenthetical additional information so that we can have the meat of the sentence. And that's exactly what's happening here. Okay. Now the rest of this stuff you guys can really like read through and understand it. I think we are going to just go right to the questions and I'm going to apply stuff because a lot of students miss these and it's the easiest to bring up. So if anything, before Saturday, go through and review this. This should be pretty much review for you guys. We don't use it very often. We are in a environment and kind of a lifestyle where we're reading comments, right? Comment sections. Very seldom do people actually read long books anymore. Okay, so our attention span, and the reason I point that out is because you're not going to see semicolons, dashes, colons, and all that stuff in comments, right? You're going to see improperly formatted things, all lowercase, no punctuation, and it's hard to kind of know because we're not immersed in that culture, okay, of good punctuation. So let's go to module 2, and we're going to go to the conventions of standard English questions. Okay, and we're going to dig in here. Now, if you're going through this at home, it's going to start around the 15-ish question mark on both modules. Okay, this particular one, let's see here, 19. Okay, thank you. So somewhere around the 15-ish mark, you're going to start seeing the conventions of standard English questions. You're going to see about 8 of them, okay, anywhere from 8 to 10. And these are all grammar questions. As soon as you see this right here, conforms to the conventions of standard English, it's asking you which one is grammatically correct. Okay. Elam, I'm going to move my mic a little bit here for you. Okay. So let's go through this. Okay, I'm just going to initially read the part with the underline in it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we may be able to eliminate some. Okay, what are atmospheric rivers and how? Okay, is that a sentence or a question? If we're starting with the word what? It's going to be a question. That right off the bat in 2 seconds, we were able to eliminate 2 options. Now, what are atmospheric rivers and how do they affect our weather, or how they do affect our weather? It's clearly going to be option C, okay? How do they affect our weather? So that one was very simple. We did not even have to read the whole thing. And if you're since you guys are taking it digitally, let's see, he has a question. You can go ahead and ask it. And then I'll look at it whenever you type it in there. Since you guys are taking it digitally, electronic version of the it's going to be even faster on the computer. Okay, just a point out there. Okay, when his question comes through, I will answer that. Number 20, okay, one of the few African-American global explorers during the turn of the 20th century. Okay, this, I'm interested to see, what do you guys think the answer is on this one?
It's A because it's describing him right before the comma. So
Good.
He's not right after it.
Good. If he were not there, that's called a dangling modifier. You would be so surprised at how many students miss that, but your explanation was great. It is describing Matthew Henson. He is one of the few African explorers during the turn of the 20th century. It has to come after that. Okay, the we communicate written text and rich is way different. We could have a conversation, point A to point Z, back to point M, back, and hop around, totally track, like understand what's going on. Writing a book though, and having it do that, we would be like, what is happening? And then if we end up where we started, it would be rage bait. Like it would have the best reviews ever. But conversationally, I'm sure you could think of, I've been sitting out waiting a second. Describe how to the text was trying to say, because we know that one of the few African-American global explorers can't be 1891 and 1909, can't be Greenland, and can't be several treks across Greenland. So conversationally, that's when students say, well, it sounds right either way, because it does, because we speak incorrectly, and spoken English is different than written English. Matthew Henson is the most correct way to say this. Okay, so this one right here, we're actually going to work on a few of these, would be dangling modifiers. Okay. Let's actually hop over to IXL. I want to work on a few of these dangling modifier questions and also some of the other grammar questions. Okay, that you guys will see on here. This is, and I will also send you these skills along with my login so that you guys can practice this if you want. These, I would recommend just repping them out. Okay, just like the gym, you're never going to increase your PR if you don't put in the work to get the reps up to your PR. You cannot just start benching, whatever, 300 pounds when you haven't worked up to anything like lower than that, right? This is the same thing. So although these might feel kind of mundane and like really, I promise you, these are the light reps. Okay, once you nail these, the harder things are going to be like one step up from where you are, and you're going to be able to do so much better if you master these little skills. I say little skills. Some of them are actually pretty humbling. Bye, girl. And you'll see that pretty quickly. The good thing about dangling modifiers, though, is that once you get it, you get it. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Now, this one's going to have you specifically select the misplaced or dangling modifier. You obviously won't have to select the dangling modifier on the SAT, but these will be options that will be answer choices, and you'll have to pick the most correct version of it, okay? So this one definitely has a misplaced or dangling modifier. So reducing visibility to just a few feet. Residents of the Great Plains gave the name black blizzards or black rollers to the dense dust clouds that often swept through during the 1930s. Okay, what is the dangling modifier here? Or what part of the sentence needs to be moved? Okay, why?
Because the residents were producing.
Right. So in this case, we're going to move this because what was reducing the visibility? Right. The dust clouds or whatever, anywhere through there. Now, this particular exercise is not telling us to rewrite the sentence, but it is saying to fix what's wrong in there, okay, to move it. So the way that it could read, one option would be residents of the Great Plains gave the name black blizzards or black rollers to the dense dust clouds that reduced visibility to just a few feet that often swept through swept through during the 1930s or something like that. Point is that the dense dust cloud seems to go with reducing the visibility, not the residents. So very good. Okay. On here. So sculpted by an African artist, Rita's bedroom was decorated with tiny handcrafted statues of elephants, lions, and giraffes. What is the misplaced or dangling modifier here?
Sculpted by an African artist to do with the handcrafted statues.
Right. Okay, but surely you can see how this would be a little bit confusing for conversationally, because we know that Rita's bedroom is not the one that was sculpted by an African artist. So we wouldn't think that it needs to be moved if we're just having a conversation. But written English, we do need to do that. Okay, we'll do one more of these. Made with dark chocolate and peanut butter, Debbie's mouth watered at the sight of the decadent dessert. Right. Exactly. So the chocolate and peanut butter part needs to be put with the decadent dessert. Okay, good. Okay, we're going to go through some practice questions for eliminating, let me see what it's called here, right here. Choosing punctuation to avoid fragments and run-ons. These are exactly the ones that you see on the SAT. Okay, now here's a trick that I want to show you guys for where it talks about boundaries on that paper. And we talked about having a period, a semicolon, or a comma fanboy. If all three of those things are options, it has to be the fourth option. Does that make sense? Because they can't all be right. So that in and of itself can help you make your decision a little faster sometimes, if you know that they're all equivalent choices. So a period, semicolon, and comma fanboy are all equivalent choices, and they all can't be right. All right, so until we reach a rural area with little or no light pollution, we are unlikely to see a shooting star. What punctuation is proper to put between these two? Okay. Do you agree? Okay. Let's go through, are there any equivalent options here?
Yeah.
B and D. Okay. That's a comma fanboy and a semicolon. So neither of them can be right. Neither B or D can be right. So it's either going to be A or C. The way to figure this out, do we have an independent clause or, sorry, I'm trying to respond. He was asking, is it option A? Do we have a dependent or an independent clause there? Until we reach a rural area with little or no light pollution, is that independent or dependent? It's dependent. It's got to be A. Okay. Anytime we have a dependent to independent, comma is the only way that it will work. Now, independent to dependent can be no punctuation. but dependent to independent will always be a comma. Okay, stream of consciousness is a literary style that mimics the flow of natural thought, and or furthermore, it abandons conventional punctuation. Mm-hmm. And also for B, can you start a sentence with the word and? Not very conventional. So that one's like double wrong.
See, this is the
It is very good. Okay. Independent to dependent, no punctuation needed there. Now, here's a question. When would A be correct? Or what would need to be added in order for A to be correct? Okay. The question, so you mentioned that it's independent to dependent. Okay. The only way that A would work is if we had independent to independent. So we would have to add in like, and it abandons conventional punctuation. Okay.
Would that work for D as well?
So that's a good question. In order to use furthermore, we would have to use a semicolon. It would have to be thought semicolon. Furthermore, it blah, blah, blah. Okay.
is that the only way that works?
With furthermore?
Yeah.
And that I would say most of the time. I hate saying like yes 100% of the time because English is English and there's exceptions to everything. Most of the time when you see furthermore, however, although all of those coordinating conjunctions will come after a semicolon.
It can also be after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But independent to independent. So either a period or a semicolon. Good. Excuse me. Good. Okay. Keep practicing. So this one is a really good little exercise to do. What I want to do is work through some subject verb agreement in this nailing down. So punctuation, what we just did for the choosing punctuation to avoid run-ons, that is a skill that you can master on your own at home prior to the test. I would rep those until you're blue in the face, until you get 20 of them correct. Okay. When you get 20 of them correct, then stop in a row. Then you will build up the confidence to say, I got this. Okay. That one's choosing punctuation to avoid run-ons. This is the other one here that is identifying and correcting verb agreement with compound subjects or indefinite pronouns. We're going to do both. This one I think is going to be a game changer for you guys. Okay. It's also maybe a little bit humbling. So don't get your feelings hurt. Excuse me. Don't get your feelings hurt if you get some of these wrong, because most of my students get these wrong to start. Okay. So this one says if there's an error with the subject verb agreement, we have to select the incorrect verb and type it correctly. So we're looking for an action word here. Okay. The verb is going to be the one that's incorrect. If there's an error with it. So the talented young chef's popular cooking show plus his new series of how-to videos have taken the culinary world by storm. Is there an error? And if there is, what is it?
Because the new series of how-to videos
Singular has. Sentence, and then it's going to make your decision make so much more. You are smart. So Hawaii's Kilauea That's how it's Kilauea. I think that's what you said. Volcano in Iceland. Go ahead. You want to try this one? What about you, Austin? Iceland's volcano. I don't even know what that like backwards D with the line through it. I don't know what that one is. Elam, if you want to give it a shot, you can, buddy. But Iceland's volcano. Does it sound right to you?
I think Hawaii's Kilauea volcano and Iceland's volcano. That doesn't really sound like that. I think it should be plural.
Okay. Yes. So the verb, what is the verb here? Mm-mm.
Or still?
Are. So are is plural. So this is correct as is. Hawaii's volcano and Iceland's volcano, both of them, they are still actively erupting today. Okay. It is. Yeah. Okay, this one, I'm just going to submit it. You won't see many, so don't worry about that. Okay, neither Alaska nor Florida have a state income tax. Residents in those states must still pay federal income tax. Okay.
Doesn't sound right.
I know, but it is not correct as is. I know it does sound correct. Conversationally, I think we would say it like this too. So the way that neither nor works in either or, okay, both of those things, the verb agrees with the closer subject. So in this case, neither nor, we don't even have to read that part. It's just Florida. So start at Florida and see if it still sounds right to you. What do you think it should be? So grammatically, this is actually how you do this. Neither Alaska nor Florida has a state income tax. And I know that that sounds wrong because conversationally, I think we would say have. It's wrong. Grammatically, we have to agree that with the closer subject. Okay? Say it again.
It's like the written.
Yes.
Written versus spoken.
Yes. And we live in the great state of Florida. We don't care about grammar here as a whole, as a generalization of the state.
So it just agrees with the singular.
With the closer subject. So remember I was saying that proximity matters in written English? So whatever verb is closer to the neither nor. So if I were to say like this, neither dogs nor cats. Okay, that would be, they're both plural.
So then it would be have.
Right. But only because cats. That's the only one that matters. Yeah. Oh, I know. This is one of my favorite things to go through, which is why I said that this is something that you can rep out at home. Okay. A lot of my students memorize these little prefixes right here, BB3. One of my students, she was like, I spent 3 hours on BB3 and I finally got it. I was like, okay. So if you want to memorize, or not memorize, but if you want to like jot down the little BB3, you can go find it on there. I'm going to give you access to the whole thing. So you're not limited to just what we are working on, but I highly recommend these because they're the highest missed ones on the SAT. Okay, so let's go through this one. Benjamin Franklin and Richard Saunders were the same person. Franklin used the latter name as a pseudonym when he wrote his popular Poor Richard's Almanac. Any error there? And if so, which one? Okay, so we're only taking a look at the subject and the verb. Yep. Semicolon is not on the table for removal. In theory, yes, that could be. However, the second sentence, Franklin used the latter name. So it's past tense in this case. You could say that they are the same person and then Franklin uses. But since Franklin used is that second one, you want parallel form. Okay, so both is fine as is. Okay, here's the practice one for you. Okay, another neither nor. So you don't have to read that. You would read focus is. Okay, but if you like in a conversation, if you were like, neither brevity nor focus is characteristic, they would look at you like, what are you saying right now? Because we would conversationally, I think we would say neither brevity nor focus are a characteristic. That sounds just fine. But grammatically it's not correct. Okay, so I want to go through another type of subject verb agreement that is commonly missed. It's called indefinite pronouns. Okay, and I think hopefully we will not have this won't be too humbling for us, but we'll go through it. Okay, every time somebody on one of our websites register to receive our email newsletter, we send out a confirmation email. Okay, what is the error in this one? Registers, good. Okay, because it's somebody. Every time somebody registers on one and of our websites, those are both prepositional phrases. And you guys probably learned about prepositions in middle school. Okay, been a while, in other words. So you may want to refresh, and I can attach a page of prepositions. My expectation is not that you memorize them, but that you can identify them, because that's going to be also additional information that you can cut the fat out of. And it's going to help you get to the meat faster. Every time somebody registers, actually the rest of that is all to receive our email newsletter. That is also a prepositional phrase. So it would be, we send out a confirmation email. Okay. If anybody from work calls for me, please say that I have laryngitis and will return to work as soon as I can. Antonio's note read. Okay, is there an error here? And if so, what is it? Good. Okay. Let's go back and let's do this one here. This is all different types. And it's very helpful. Okay, this one definitely has an error. It says find the error. Okay, at the Naval Service Warfare Center outside of Washington, D.C. That whole entire introductory clause is dependent. We don't care about that. We don't have to read that. A sophisticated indoor ocean that can recreate 8 different open water conditions are used to test models of ships. Is used. A sophisticated indoor ocean. One, a sophisticated is. Good. This one, the wedding photographs of one couple living in Saskatoon, Canada feature an unusual backdrop. Behind the newlyweds lurk a massive funnel cloud. Lurks. Okay. Behind the newlyweds is actually a prepositional phrase. So it would be a massive funnel cloud is the subject, and that lurks. Okay, visitors to the cave in Belize that serves as a Maya archaeological site have to swim to its entrance. There isn't. Now, to further show you how much fat there is in this one, the only words that actually matter in this particular sentence, there are 2 of them. Visitors have. Everything else, to, act, tune, that thing, that's a prepositional phrase. Then we have a word group within commas, which is all a dependent, all additional parenthetical information. That's out. To swim and to its entrance are both prepositional phrases. So literally this whole entire sentence boils down to two words. Visitors have. Okay. All right. Those are really good to work through. Okay, we're going to hop back over here. Okay, so module 2, number 21. Okay, so we took a little detour there to get some practice. Okay, here we go. This is another type of dangling modifier one. Okay, so proximity matters here. Woven from recycled yarn and hand tufted using a carpet weaving technique passed down by the artist's Turkish grandmother, blank, so lush and tactilely inviting you that you are tempted to reach out and touch them. What needs to go right after the comma? Okay, or does it?
Could be
Over to your creation.
yeah, be the textile, right?
It's going to be what she's creating, right? So we're going to eliminate D, okay? Now, D and B are actually similar, guys, okay? Because it's talking about the artist still. When she creates, that's another dependent clause. So this one has to be A. It's the topological tapestries. Okay, so be careful. You see what they did there? They put in grandmother. And so immediately we were thinking, okay, the grandmother's name is going to have to go. You're not wrong for that. That's what they do. They're trying to get you. However, by the artist, Turkish grandmother is a prepositional phrase. So what this actually starts off with is woven. Okay, so woven from recycled yarn. From recycled yarn is also a prepositional phrase. So woven and hand tufted using a carpet weaving technique passed down. Woven, okay, is a topological tapestries. The topological tapestries of Argentine textile artist Alexandra are so lush and tactilely inviting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this one, we're going to put in here dangling modifier. Okay, this is the dangling modifier type of question. Okay, let's try this one. Physical materials can be classified by how much light passes through them. Clear glass, which is classified as transparent, allows all or almost all light to pass through. Okay, now we have to figure out what goes after that. Wax paper, which is classified as translucent, allows only some light to pass through. So what do we have here? Do we have dependent, independent? What's going on there? Because that's going to tell us what to use.
It's two independent.
Okay. If it's two independent, what are our only options? There's only three. Yeah. And there is only one of these. It is independent to independent. And there is only one option out of the three that we have. It's a semicolon. Good. Any questions on that? How do we identify if it's independent or dependent, anything like that? No stupid questions. Okay. I'd rather have you ask than not. All right, how are we pronouncing this Y name with 6 eyes? 5 eyes there. Any clues on that one? Do we pronounce each one with a different? I feel like it's yeah.
For sure. Just go
There you go. All right, we'll just hold that out a little longer. The yeek kai. All right. Yeah, that's wild, man. So using natural debris such as dried leaves, okay, something, and then they have such as plastic bags and more traditional art supplies such as tree glue. Ghanaian artist Ed Franklin Gavwa creates his striking African masks, which he hopes can help viewers rethink how waste is used in their communities. Okay. This one, I'm interested to see what you guys think for this one. Okay. Why would it be B?
Because the clause right after it is
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like it's trying to make it.
Yeah. But why do they use semicolons instead of commas? Why wouldn't, because a list, right, is normally separated by commas. So why are they, because I agree with you, the answer is B, but why?
Because they're using the commas.
One second, looks like. So another use of semicolons can also be to separate a check. Okay, that should be all good now. All right, let's try 24-25. So Latin America is known to have dozens, if not hundreds, of popular dance forms. Only 5 of these dances are included in international ballroom dance competitions, however. Right? And then we've got rumba, samba, cha-cha-cha, paso, and the last of which is grouped with the other Latin dances despite not having Latin roots. Okay, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? Okay. Is it A, C,
Oh, wait, no, it is next to it.
what if I said it was not A?
Well, it would have to be C because you said earlier that semicolons can be used to.
There's another semicolon here though. So what's the qualification for a semicolon? When are we allowed to use that? No, you're right.
Independent to independent.
So independent to independent. Yep. Now, if we can use it for independent to independent, let's check and see if that works out. Okay, so let's just try it with this option. Only 5 of these dances are included in the International Ballroom Dance Competitions, however. That sounds okay, right? Rumba, samba, cha-cha-cha, paso doble, and jive, the last of which is grouped with the other Latin dances despite not having Latin roots. Is that an independent clause? If we are doing C, that is how it would read. What would the verb be there? So it would be rumba, samba, cha-cha-cha, paso doble, and jive, the last of which, well, this is all parenthetical though.
Yeah.
Correct. You know, this one is a little bit strange. Let me verify this. I'm confident it's D, but I'm gonna check. No, it is actually not D because it is not independent. Okay, I thought that was a little strange. Since I thought it was D, I was waiting for it to be independent. It is not independent. So what is the only option it can be? Oh, it's actually A. It's actually A. So here's why. This, I was expecting, like I said, I was expecting it to be, and after reading it, I was like, I don't think that it can be independent. So that eliminates C and D. Okay. We can only use a colon if it's independent to dependent. And it has to closely describe whatever comes after it, has to closely describe whatever is right before it. And this is where it says only 5 of these dances are included in the International Ballroom Dance of Competitions, however. So the function, actually, this first part of both A and C are the same. Okay, we already established that the independent clause was fine there. This part right here is the difference maker. We can only choose C if it's independent to independent, and that's not what we have. We have independent to dependent, so it has to be A. Interesting. That one was weird. So let's dig through that second part here. Okay, rumba, samba, cha-cha-cha, paso doble, and jive. That is the rest of that sentence. Okay, parenthetical, we are not going to use anything from the last of which is group blah, 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 blah. That's all just extra info, which means that rumba, samba, cha-cha-cha, that is all dependent. Okay, that was a good one to go through. Okay, 25. So for thousands of years, humans have used domesticated goats to clear land of unwanted vegetation. Also chickens. I don't know if you guys knew that, but chickens as well. When it comes to their diets, goats are notoriously indiscriminate. And, or not, they will devour all kinds of shrubs and weeds, leaving virtually no part of any plant unconsumed. Okay. What is this one? Okay.
Because it provides like an example.
Well, yes. But does the part that's after that closely describe the first part?
Yes.
Why they are discriminant? This one's also a weird one. Hello, by the way. Hello again. Long time no see. Indiscriminate and I'll be honest, I've actually never seen it used independent to independent with a colon.
Is that the answer?
It is the answer. Let me just double check it. But it has to be. 25 is D, yeah. Okay. Now, I think the reason why the other three, you can do process of elimination. The other three are not going to work because you do have independent to independent. But I think that the reason why the colon works is not necessarily because that second part is independent. It's because it closely describes what comes for it. And the first part is independent. Okay. I would not add that to my list of independent to independence because you're not really going to see that. This is the first time in 15 years that I have seen it be independent to independent. I've never seen that before. This particular question. I've worked through all of these many times, but this particular question, either I don't remember it or, but I don't recall that. I think that it is the colon because it closely describes the second part, closely describes the first. Okay, but it cannot be a comma. That would be a run-on. It can't be no punctuation because that's not an option. And the fanboy that's there does not have a comma fanboy. So we cannot join together two independent clauses the other way, the other three ways. Okay. Okay, there's one more of these. So a species of Biropsis algae produces toxins to avoid being eaten by predators. However, in some cases, the toxins the organism uses to protect itself from predation actually blank its attractiveness to predators. The Hawaiian sea slug not only tolerates toxins, but actually uses them for protection in the same way algae does. What is the correct verb there?
Increases.
Yeah, this increases. Okay. And to make sure, you can check all the other verbs that are here. So it produces, it tolerates, so increases is the correct way. The correct way. Okay, this one is C. Good. Okay, let me check on my list here of things that we need to get through. Sure, go for it, yeah. Okay, expression of ideas, transition and flow. So we're going to work through this part next. Okay.
This is gonna be a fun one.
Are you subbing for her?
Well, she's passed her off to me for the summer.
Oh.
We'll see how long. You know, after we did that in high school for the last
I know.
year.
I know. This is why I do the same, you know. We tutor all kinds of kids here, from kindergarten, preschool, all the way up to college. But I only focus on like college kids, so it's just funny. Because little kids can be a lot. Okay, so dealing with transitions, let's go over to our page here, our cheat sheet on transitions. Okay, it's going to be the other page, page 2. Here we go. Okay. So the transition words cheat sheet, we have quite a few options here. And these I put here, they're most likely going to be. Okay, so also additionally, furthermore, in addition, or moreover is talking about an addition. We're adding something to what's already being said. Okay, transitions are like bridges. So you have to think about, okay, for instance, going from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola, there is a bridge there. Without the bridge there, you'd have to take a boat or go all the way around, right? So what we have to think about transition-wise is we're going from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola. The 3-mile bridge is currently what connects them. You have to approach the SAT in the same way. This sentence is here and this sentence is here. How am I connecting them? Is this additional information for this? Is it contrasting information? So is it separate? Is it a cause and effect? Did this happen because of this? Or is it an example? Okay, So I put on here some cheat sheets, words and kind of how they're grouped together to try to help us more easily identify the right answer for these. So you may want to keep this referenced, like just keep it over on the right side or whatever as you're going through these to help you. I'm going to see if I can put it over on the side. You may not see it up there. It will show up online, but that's okay. Okay. So Elam, I'm going to kind of shrink this down here on the right side. And then my in-person folks, you guys have it in front of you. All right. So, it did show up there. Perfect. Okay. So we're talking about transitions and how to pick the best word. Think of a transition like a bridge between two areas and how they're connected. Okay, so when we're looking at the sentences, we have to make sure that we are connecting them properly. Okay, on here, after appropriate permissions are granted, a typical archaeological dig begins with the surveyor making a detailed grid of the excavation site. Okay, then the site is carefully dug and any artifacts found are recorded and mapped onto the site grid. Blank, the artifacts are removed, cataloged, and analyzed in a laboratory. What is the correct transition here? What connects those two thoughts? Right, it's gotta be finally. Because we're talking about first this happens, then this, then finally. Okay. It's in order. Here's another one, logical transitions. The liquid metals in Earth's core circulate constantly, and this circulation generates electrical currents that flow between Earth's north and south magnetic poles. These electrical currents, blank, create a barrier around Earth that protects us from radiation and charged particles coming from space. Good. Okay, let's see here. I would say so. Yeah, has to be. I would say intern. I'm going to check that one too. Yeah. Yeah, it's intern. Okay. The only other one I was kind of toying between was likewise, but I don't see another comparison there where it would be the same to fit. Okay. Number 29. So biographer Michael Gora notes that the novelist Henry James lived in a world of second thoughts, frequently tinkering with his novels and stories after their initial publication. However, the differences between the 1881 first edition and the 1908 edition of his novel, A Portrait of a Lady, are extreme, even by James's standards. Blank, some critics regard the two editions as two different novels altogether. In fact, okay, we are really adding to it, okay, in fact. All right, now notes, okay. I really want to go through, this is part of the information and ideas section on here. I'll pull up my sheet here. Okay, and I want to give you guys an amazing tip and a tool to solve these and to really get these correct. This works 100% of the time so far that I have been teaching it this way. So I highly recommend that you solve these this way, that you do follow this strategy. Okay. What I tell my students to do is to not look at the answer choices first. Okay, that's typical, right? All you're going to do is read what they're asking you to read, okay, at the bottom. And then you're going to go back and you're going to highlight the bullet points that apply to what you're looking for. Now, I'll explain what I'm talking about here. Okay, so this is what the student wants to do. He wants to emphasize a similarity between the Choctaw Code Talkers and the Navajo Code Talkers. Okay, he wants to emphasize one, similarity between the two. So when we're going back and looking through the notes, we are looking for that similarity. Okay, and that's it. We don't have to include other information because we're just trying to extract this out. Okay, so while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. In World War I, the soldiers who were members of the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma participated in the Choctaw Code Talkers program. The Choctaw Code Talkers were trained to relay coded military information in their native language. In World War II, the U.S. Army recruited Navajo soldiers to transmit coded messages in their native language. These soldiers were known as the Navajo Code Talkers. Okay, so what bullet points are important to note the similarity between the two things?
They both relate around native languages.
Mm-hmm. So these, I promise you, you will get these right. Okay, if you follow that strategy, it makes it so much easier. Okay, because you're literally reading bulleted things already. So it's already extracted information. You just have to pick which bullets are relevant to what they're asking you to find. Okay, so easy. The student wants to contrast. This is all we're looking for. We're contrasting the number of meteorite falls with the number of meteorite finds. Okay, so let's read through this. Meteorites found on Earth are divided into two categories. A meteorite that was observed falling to Earth before being recovered is known as a meteorite fall. Okay, that's defining it, but it's not talking about the difference between the two yet. All other meteorites found on Earth are known as meteorite finds. There have been about 1,200 recorded meteorite falls. There have been over 60,000 recorded meteorite finds. What is the only information that says what the difference is? We're contrasting the number of meteorite falls to finds. Okay, so it's the last two bullet points on there. So when we're looking at our answer choices, we are looking for the only one that has those two numbers in it. Okay, your accuracy is, promise you, gonna go way up on those. And there's only about, I would say, four from what I've seen, four of these. Okay, and you'll get them right if you follow that. Okay, so try the last two and see what you get on your, like, independently. So 32 and 33, module 2. Okay. What'd you guys get for 32? It's B. Okay, good. Okay, did you find that it was easier to eliminate your answer choices or to pick using that method? Yeah. Okay, 33, what'd you get? Okay. What'd you get? C? It is C. Good. Okay. So that alone, I mean, will help boost your score quite a bit. Typically when I have students that come to this is the first time I've done like a week-long test prep camp like this, but when I do like even one camp, I typically see the students increase about 200 points, okay, in their respective categories, whatever they're trying to get. Now, the goal for the SAT, at least, you have to improve all your sections. You have to improve your total score because they don't super score it like the ACT, where they take it section by section. They do it by attempt, okay? So you guys will have a pretty well-rounded review, definitely by the end of this, okay? All right, so the last part of what I spend time on today, I want to go through another section on here and kind of dig through these tables and stuff that you guys had questions on yesterday. Okay, so we talked about the maximal speed yesterday. I believe we did all of those. Let's see on here. Where in my module 2 are we? That one's module 2. Or I guess we did. Did we do all of them on there? Okay. Yeah, we did. We did all of them yesterday. Okay. What I'm going to do is pull up a different one then. Okay. Let's do one of these. So this is a different test. You guys don't have this one in front of you, but you guys can obviously still participate with it. I want to make sure that we work through these a little bit and I can help you narrow this stuff down. Now, with these, it is a little bit hard to give you a strategy. Based on like the notes that we just did, the outline, that is a very simple strategy that will get it 100% right every time. That easy. Okay, so now check that off, nail that. Your conventions of standard English are grammar rules. Once I send you the IXL login, you guys can hammer those out and master those prior to the test. Easy points. This is not easy points. There's not like a formula that I can tell you that's going to help you understand the graphs. So the reason I'm saying that is at the end of the day, if these are ones that you just have to, okay, I'm just going to skip these, and skip them meaning I'm going to make an educated guess but not put all my effort into it, or I'm just going to try my best and it is what it is, that's okay for these. Okay, the rest of them, don't do that. The rest of them master, because you can do that outside of this. I have no idea what kind of graph they're going to give you. I don't know what they're going to ask you to interpret. So it's kind of hard for me to like give you a blanket statement of how to approach these types of questions. The other ones are formulaic or whatever that's a word, but there's a system to it. I can teach you how to use a semicolon. But I can't necessarily tell you, okay, they're going to give you one of these, one of these, one of these. So on these particular types of questions, I would say do your best on them, but don't stress about them. If you're not able to, like, if you can't get them correct, don't worry. Okay? There's bigger fish to fry. You're going to have maybe 3 on each module for this. That's 20 that you can get right and score. Okay. So, okay, we are looking which choice best describes data from the graph that support the researcher's conclusion. To investigate potential cognitive benefits of taking, wait, didn't we do this? Oh boy, oh boy. I thought I went back enough on the other test. Okay, here's one. This one we did not do, right? Those Yellowstone, Zion, Grand Canyon,
That was on the home.
Rocky Mountain. Oh yeah, this is the same one. Hold on. I feel like that one's a little bit easier. Okay, here is one. Okay, we are supporting the student's assertion. So on here, okay, a student is researching the Chinese government's 1992 shift to a market economy that emphasizes trade liberalization. One means of trade liberalization involves expanding from ordinary imports into an emphasis on processing imports, which have two types: processing with an assembly and processing with inputs. The student asserts, so you notice I didn't read the parenthetical information. That may be important, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'm going to try to focus on what the student assertion is. The student asserts that while initial efforts at trade liberalization were shaped by Chinese firms' limited capital, this situation resolved during the 2000s. So the student is saying initial efforts were shaped by the Chinese firm's limited capital. In other words, they couldn't fund it. Okay, that's what he's saying. So what would support that student's assertion? So initial efforts were limited with money, but the situation resolved during the 2000s. So it looks like in 2000, these three, so the ordinary inputs, processing with assembly, and processing with inputs, these are all relatively low in comparison, right? And then it's increasing as we go from 2000 to 2003 on all of them. That's a big step, that's a step, that's a step. Okay. And we are describing data from the graph that supports that the student is saying that the funds were limited initially, but the problem resolved.
See,
Yeah, and I was going to eliminate that one also. Okay. Yeah, 'cause it's not talking about the rate at which it rose or not. It's talking about the time frame. Okay. And is it talking about a range of data or a specific year? So it has to be D. Because the only thing that A mentions is 2006, but the Chinese kid, or wait, am I racially profiling? I don't know. I think so. The student who's not particularly Chinese, but we are talking about the Chinese government. I just mentioned it was a Chinese kid. I guess I'm thinking that Chinese kids are going to do research like this. I don't know. How could I? I didn't mean to. I was like, oh. So processing imports with assembly were greater in 2006 than processing imports with inputs. That's a mouthful. Processing imports with assembly were greater in 2006 than processing imports in 2000.
yeah, that's just
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, has to be a range of data there. So, like I said, for these, I would rely heavily on process of elimination, and then picking the best options that you're left with, okay, or the best out of 3 if you can at least eliminate 1. Remember that you have at least a 25% chance of getting it right. So answer it regardless. But every answer that you eliminate, you go from a 25% chance to a 33% chance to a 50% chance. You want to increase your odds of getting it correct. So at least if you can eliminate, your odds are going to increase as to what you can get right and wrong. Okay, so in preparation for tomorrow, we're going to shift gears and we're going to go into math. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Desmos. We're going to be like diving in. I think what the best way to do math, based on what I have seen for the SAT, especially recently, is to go through one of the practice tests online. And what I want to do is show you the most effective way to answer the questions. Okay? I love math, and I would love nothing more than to show you guys to work it out from A to Z and box your answer and get all the things. You just don't know how to do all that. Okay, so what we'll talk about tomorrow is we're going to talk about the overall strategy of math, of the math section, how it increases in difficulty, what to expect. And then Thursday, we're going to spend the majority of the time, at least half the time, on doing the advanced math section. So maybe some probability will be in there, trig questions, and the ones that will kind of give you a headache right at the end of it. We'll focus that on Thursday. Now, by the end of Thursday, I'll be able to have you guys do some practice questions and give you guys an estimated score about where I think you're going to be able to improve. And then on Friday, we're going to go through any questions that you guys have, and it's going to be all a comprehensive review. For that, it's not just going to be you two. There's going to be 5 of us in here so far. Here, and that one's going to be from 3 to 5. Okay, just because the timing of my facility, that's how it worked out. Last thing before we go, I had to switch the timing of tomorrow to be 15 minutes later. So it's going to be 2:15 to 4:15 tomorrow. Let me know if that is an issue, because I'll make it work regardless. But again, the scheduling, one of the ladies and I overlapped here on accident. When we first planned this, she had another class, I had a class. So she's moving her thing 15 minutes up. I'm moving mine 15 minutes back. And we'll just make it work that way. Just Friday. So tomorrow, yeah. So tomorrow is going to be 2:15 to 4:15. Thursday is back 2 to 4, like normal. And then Friday is 3 to 5. Mm-hmm. I normally have dinner on Friday. Do you guys have any allergies or anything I need to be aware of? What type of food do you like the best? I know we were talking about steaks. Okay.
Yeah, same here.
Okay.
I mean, when I was here for like the ACT cram session, you brought like those little sandwich rolls. Those were good.
Yeah, listen, I love food, so you don't have to, tell me with a good time. I'll bring something. Sometimes I get NYPD pizza, but I have ladies often that will attend and they're like, I don't want to eat. So I'm like, please eat. Like, I have 2 boys and a girl myself, my own kids, and they eat all. Yes. Oh, yeah, I got a carb load, man. Get them gains. Okay, so for practice tonight into tomorrow, so what I want you guys to do is complete 1 full reading and writing module. Okay, I don't care which one. Complete 1 of them on your College Board website and let me know what you get on it tomorrow. So if you get something wrong on there, I want to be able to help you. So 1 complete module, it'll probably take you maybe 30, 45 minutes, okay, over the course of the next 24 hours. If you can't do it, there's no, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, you didn't do it. But if you do it, I'll be able to help you more. Okay, so complete it. And actually, for sake of timing, I probably should make you guys do the same one. So let's do 4. I will write that down on here.
On the online?
On the online one. Yeah. The reason I like doing the online for you guys is because it shows up under your portal. So you'll be able to see what you got wrong on there. And then you can, let me add the group notes. Okay. So complete one module. Let's do module 2. Okay. Let's do practice test number 4, module 2 in its entirety and bring the results with you tomorrow. You'll be able to pull it up on your phone and go through it on there. So you don't have to bring like a laptop or anything, but I want to be able to help you. If you're missing whatever it is, grammar at this point, grammar, transitions, notes, main idea, I want to be able to help you guys focus. So we'll do that in just the beginning of tomorrow. And tomorrow you mentioned you're going to be late, right? Or is that Thursday?
No,
for your lab?
It would just be today.
Oh, okay.
So Thursday I'm fine.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So yes, practice test 4, module 2, reading and writing in its entirety. Bring the results tomorrow. We'll go over it and then we're going to start hammering down math.
How do I access the practice test?
Yes, I will show you. Okay, let me add that in here just so we don't forget. So practice test 4, module 2 in its entirety. Bring the results with you tomorrow. Okay, on the Blue Book on the Blue Book app, okay, you cannot access this from like a website. Okay, so you're going to download the Blue Book app from the College Board website, but this is what it looks like here. Okay, you should have a College Board account that you can log into. You know, it would just be too much to ask for this thing to do what I need it to do. Okay. Okay, once you log in here, you'll see full-length practice right here. You'll go ahead and click on it right here, click SAT practice test 4. And then it'll show you the start from it. Okay, now I'll show you on here. I already have one started. So this is what it looks like.
And I just skip to module 2.
Skip to module 2. So you'll go to or you can go to the review page, is fine. Click next. It'll say the module's over. Here you go. Okay, so there's a timer at the top, 32 minutes. That's what I was mentioning. It's not going to take you very long. Go ahead and complete this whole thing, 27 questions. You do not have to do the math portion. When you're done with this, go to the review page, click next. It'll have you take a break, but you don't have to. You can resume and just get all the way out of it. Okay, so you'll just go like this over and over again to get out, and I'll show you what it tells you at the end. It's going to tell you that the scores have been uploaded to your College Board account. So then you have to go back to your computer or your phone, pull up your College Board account, and you'll review your results on the web. Okay, so right here. Congratulations on completing an SAT practice test. Then you do view your score, and then it brings you back to the College Board website. Okay, so a little bit back and forth. It would just make way too much sense for them to put it all in one spot. Why would they do that? And then you can log in and view your results here. Okay. All right. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, sir. And you guys have a good day. Enjoy the decent weather where it's not pouring.